I've never been here before, but I feel like I have. Something tells me where I'm at can't be too bad. There's magic in the air. Oh yeah, there's magic in the air. Oh yeah.
Hey everyone, Derek here. Welcome back to another finds video. And I also wanted to thank everyone that watched my previous video and telling me what they thought of it. Thanks for all the responses. It definitely makes me want to do like a part 2 sometime down the road. Perhaps this month. We'll see how it works out. But I would actually like to do, instead of LPs the next time around, I thought maybe I could mix it up a little bit and talk about some of the 45s I've been kind of scrounging over the last few years, you know. Because there's a lot of 45s I would love to find, but they just very seldom pop up, and some of my favorite tunes are on 45s only, and you know, that's the only way you can acquire them. So I may do that down the road, but thanks again for everyone that watched it. Also, funny enough, the day after I posted that video, I actually bought one of those items, and it actually popped up for me, so very excited about that as well. Definitely wasn't cheap, but it was something that I've been building a lot of stuff up in my PayPal, and people have been buying stuff off of Discogs for me, so really only paid about 1/3 of what this goes for, and so very, very pumped to share what that is. Perhaps my next video. We'll see when it arrives, but yeah, today I just got 4 LPs to share since I last been on here, and very pumped about this nice stack here. These are all, well, 3 of them are original copies, and then there's a reissue I've been waiting for that I pre-ordered probably back in March or April. So very pumped to share that one as well. But I'm going to show these the order I got them in, of course, and we're going to start off with The Hook, with their second album, Hooked. This is one that's kind of eluded my collection for a long time on the Uni label. And I do have their first album. I think I shared it in my last video, or I shared it really recently. A nice gatefold there. Uni pack, we all love them. So this band, I can't remember where they're based out of. I think the West Coast. I think the California area. Even though they sound a little more East Coast to me. But this second album, it's kind of consistently grown on me, I would say, over the years, and this is almost starting to become my go-to album. It's kind of always been a toss-up between the two, but just look at those outfits they're wearing. I mean, this just tells you what kind of era they were living in, right? Very hippy-dippy. But yeah, this featured a couple members who went on to do other things. Well, it featured an ex-member of The Leaves. He played with The Leaves, and then one of them, Dennis Provisor, who the name I did recognize right away because he also played in like the Grassroots, which was a big band for me as a young kid. And I recognized that name right away, and he was the organ player. But yeah, this one's very based in like, it's got a lot of soul tendencies, but it's backed up with this like great hard rock direction. Definitely psyched out in a few spots, and definitely worth checking out if you see it for like, you know, 20 bucks. That's what I picked this up for. Could just never find it. It was always like 40 bucks and up for nice copies, and so finally picked up on this one. Very clean copy as well. I would say side 1 is probably the best of the material on this album. It's got some of the best material and some of the best tracks by this band, in my opinion. There's Magic in the Air, and they reprise the song Son of Fantasy, which was on their debut album. It's called Son of Fantasy 2, and I think this one's the superior version, most likely. It's kind of extended out, and it's got a little more hard rock oomph to it, and extended guitar solos, and it's got like this kind of phased out drum solo going on, and lots of phasing effects throughout, which just gives it a little more character, And I think their distinctful characteristics really get pointed out in this album better than their first one, which was kind of just, relying on a lot of Cream and Jimi Hendrix kind of knockoffs, perhaps, but it's a very good LP, and I'm very glad to pick it up. So if the guys from Rogue Planet Music happen to watch this one, or if they're still with me, I mentioned their name when I went to Des Moines, Iowa to find some stuff at their shop, and this is one of the albums I may or may not have mentioned in that video. I think I may have. Funny enough, this is an album I've never really heard of, so I just kind of kept searching for it here and there, and one day I just decided to search it on eBay. This is an album I found in their shop, but it was a little over my price range, my comfort range, and so I just happened to search it on eBay, and then I find it under $10. And so, sorry to you guys, but, very happy I popped up on this copy. It's just how it happens sometimes. Tom and Lincoln. This is a private pressing that I had never heard of till I saw it in person at their Des Moines shop. Lincoln Clapp and Tom Hudson. These guys were based out of the New Jersey area, I think, and they were like a folk duo. And I uploaded a couple of the better tracks off this album on my other channel, Cosmic Minds. And funny enough, they feature the lyrics to the best song on here, Hector. So it's mostly comprised of like cover versions of songs. She Said, She Said, Jet Plane, Rolling Home, Hurry Sundown, Early Morning Rain. Lots of like singer-songwriter kind of songs. But they're mostly laced in very nice, kind of non-traditional ways. It kind of opens and finishes very weak, in my opinion. It's got a lot of kind of traditional contemporary folk sounds going on from, kind of emerging out of the late 60s. But there is kind of like a dreamy aspect to some of the tracks, like Hector, and the other original track, Tables Turned, and their version of She Said, She Said by the Beatles is worth mentioning. So it definitely has its mixed bag of material, very much in the contemporary folk. Not very psychedelic, but it's got kind of this dreamy atmosphere to it that made me very glad to pop on this. So yeah, under $10, can't go wrong there. So it seems to be a very undiscovered gem yet until I recently talked about it. And, here's a shot of the label here. I'll get the A side. It's about a VG copy, I would say. Plays very nice yet. Yeah, so can't really find any info on them. I think Tom or Lincoln, one of the two, became like a recording engineer for a lot of famous bands, I believe. I think I read that correctly. This one I'm probably the most pumped to talk about. This is the one that I pre-ordered back in probably March or April, around the pandemic, of course. And I think the vinyl release even got delayed because of the whole pandemic, and so finally got this in August, and I'm just very excited about this recent reissue because there's only been one other vinyl reissue on Rockadelic, which was limited to like 300 copies. So very pumped to see that Sundays was a part of this. This is Folkstone Prism by the band Kennelmus. Kennelmus was actually the guy's front name of the band, which I don't think he was a very big fan of the name, but he thought, there's a lot of bands coming out of Phoenix like Alice Cooper, who used like his first stage name as the band name. But yeah, this band was based out of the Phoenix area, just outside the city, I believe, and they played at a few different schools and stuff for years, till they finally decided to be devoted to going to a studio and actually laying this all out. And this is one of those albums that kind of gradually grew on me over the years. I I listen to it off and on. I'm like, you know, it's kind of intriguing stuff, but at the same time, very, very wicked and just very out there. This came out in '71, you know, kind of outside the '60s era, but still has that '60s vibe going for it. The way I would describe this, it's like a psychedelic surf epic is the best way to describe this. The whole A side is instrumental. There were plans to add some vocals to some tracks, but they left it off because they didn't feel like the vocals really matched the tone of it. And so then the B side has some vocal arrangements mixed in, and it's just a blend of different styles going throughout the whole LP. You know, you have a lot of like garage surf elements with a lot of like springy guitar reactions, and with kind of this like pop element going on, very acid doused. You could tell these guys were probably like, you know, living on the edge, you know, taking peyote every day or something, just to see what results would happen on tape. But yeah, and a lot of the song topics are very strange too, like Sylvian Shores, which is one of my more favorite tracks on here. It's talking about going out to the Bermuda Triangle, you know, and if people know about that, you know, it's where a lot of mysterious vanishings occurred, you know, and he's talking about flying over it, and then all of a sudden the song gets cut off, talking about like this missing airplane over the Bermuda Triangle, like it's a radio news broadcast, and it's just lots of odd things like that are happening. And then they end it with a version of The Raven, Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. So it's got a lot of background to this record. It also comes with a nice booklet here. It's like an 8-panel booklet, you know, kind of talking about their history. I believe it was only a trio of people too. And this is on, what label is this? Modern Harmonic, which I believe is through Sundazed. Nice photographs here. That's it. So really nice package. I'll get a shot of the little insert here. Psychedelic Sonic Oddity. Get a clip there so you can pause. And then, yeah, that's basically it. And this pressing sounds excellent too. I mean, you can't get any better than this. I was amazed at the sound quality of this. So, if I had a favorite track, probably on the A side, my favorite would be Goodbye Pamela Ann, I would say. And then B side, it's kind of hard to pick. I mean, they just kind of flows all together, but Sylvian Shores is definitely one of those that I talked about. That's the highlight. So if you don't have a copy of this, I mean, this is probably the one I recommend the most out of this video. So, Kennelmas. Very happy about this recent reissue. Kind of brought back to life. And then finally, the last one I picked up just yesterday, or received it in the mail. This is probably just totally unlike anything else I have in the collection right now, and this is one I've been eyeing on off and on throughout the years, and saw reviews of this, and I just had to listen to it, you know. This is a South Korean band that was kind of famous at the time, Sanol Lim, I think is how you pronounce it in English, but it's a South Korean band, and this is their album Volume 2. So it's all in South Korea language, and so with this album, it must have sold commercially well because there wasn't a whole lot of bands like this back in the day, and it was kind of like, at the time, kind of an edgy move to make these sorts of sounds coming out of South Korea based on their, based on the laws and everything going for it. You know, kind of a lot like, what's the album? Rodriguez's album. You know, it kind of has that same impact, I think. Give a shot of the label here. So this band was also a trio. Sorry, my chair is so squeaky. Yeah, so I don't know if there's been a reissue of this, but these are kind of getting a little scarce here in the US, I would say. You just don't see them pop up very often, so I found those for a very comfortable price and picked up on it. So, Sanol Lim. I'll try to, maybe I'll make what the title looks like in the video here so you guys can search it out. They also had like, I think 12 to 13 studio albums over the span of years, but I've heard their first 3 are probably the ones to, you know, mostly check out, that are most notable, and a lot of people consider this their best. So musically, man, this has some like razor sharp, tortured, queasy fuzz guitar on this one. That's how I describe it. And the organ is probably not the best. It's probably not the best choice of organ on this record. It's got kind of a weird, you know, kind of organ droplets. It's not really as vivid or bright as I want them to be, but it's definitely worth still checking out. And there's a lot of like emotionally, you know, emotional ballad-like kind of tracks going on for it. But there is a lot of fuzz and a lot of excitement as well in this record, and it's just one that you want more of. And so I'm definitely going to check out their third one. I've heard their first one; it's pretty similar. I heard the third one's a little more in the same realm as well, so I'll have to investigate that one. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone, and yeah, very excited about that big want that I even just talked about in my last video, and so definitely going to go in depth on that one. So that's about all I've got to share. Yeah, so take care, and we shall see you soon.